This program lineup is brought to you by Vision Express.
KUAM TV8, first on Guam. KUAM News headlines are presented by Calvo's Insurance, protecting Micronesia for 85 years. Matson and the Adahi Itano program. Apply at matson.com. Cars Plus, Guam's automotive leader in sustainability and electric vehicles. Learn more at carsplusguam.com. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. And King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on KUAM News Primetime.
The wind is packing quite a punch for us this week. Weather officials issuing a wind warning and recommending residents to avoid open burning. I'm Mitsuki Hirayama with what you need to know and what officials are doing to minimize the spread of wildfires.
The Marianas High School teacher accused of inappropriate conduct with a student has resigned. But what's next? I'm Tomas Maglonia with the full story on Saipan, as there are more questions than answers.
She's the first Chamorro woman to fill the role as federal public defender in Guam. I'm Julian Hernandez, sitting down with attorney Leilani Lujan to discuss her historic rule.
That's the high wind alarm blaring at the Port Authority of Guam today, alerting boaters. Hafa and good evening. Welcome to KUAM News Primetime. I'm Nick Delgado.
And I'm Destiny Cruz. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day.
Today, officials raising the alarm on critical fire weather conditions forecasted until early next week. This means fires can spread rapidly, most especially down south.
This as landowners and farmers are being asked to help southern Guam be fire-wise and wildfire resistant. Mitsuki Hirayama has the details.
Secure your canopy, stay out of the water, and refrain from open burning. That's what weather officials are advising, as a high wind warning is in effect for the Marianas until Thursday evening. And locally, a fire weather watch is in place Wednesday evening to Monday afternoon. This means gusty winds and dry conditions can lead to the rapid spread of fires. And the highest threat, southern parts of Guam, especially areas seeing extensive sun and winds. In an effort to reduce wildfire threats, the Department of Agriculture, Forestry, and Soil Resources Division is asking southern farmers and landowners for help. Christine Camacho Ferrin is its division chief.
And our big ask yesterday was for landowners to consider enrolling in EQIP and to consider providing access opportunity for the forests, for forestry side to be able to implement fuels reduction projects, fuel breaks, green belts, fire breaks, an assortment of fire mitigation practices to help protect and reduce fire intrusion onto private properties and across our lands.
For the first time ever, Guam has been awarded the Joint Chiefs Landscape Restoration Partnership Grant, receiving over $1.8 million for a 3-year project called Making Southern Guam More Fire-Wise and Fire Resilient.
Private properties border all of our government lands, and in fact, private properties landlock the government lands. So in order for us to even access those parcels, we need access through the private lands. And this grant, it brings a lot to us for the community, and together we can really do something great.
The project requires access to private land in southern areas to restore landscapes, reduce wildfire threats, protect water quality, and enhance wildfire habitat. Camacho Ferrin making that ask at an outreach event for the project Tuesday at the Inalahan Mayor's office.
These plantations do not belong to the Guam Department of Agriculture. These sites belong to you. It's public land, the people's land, and the reforestation work we're doing is to help restore native habitat, fresh water, restore watersheds that have gone dry.
From 2015 to 2022, southern parts of the island were significantly damaged by wildfires, especially the Inalahan watershed. And the watersheds are susceptible to erosion and impact streams and coral reefs, making wildfires a ridge-to-reef impact. Agriculture confirming just a few days ago there were 2 attempts to burn the mountain in Hogat. This as a red flag warning is now in place this week.
When we talk about red flag warning and the fire hazard, this is the reminder that, open burning, backyard burning, you need permits for these things. These aren't, just to remind everyone that a permit is required, and you have to go to the fire department for these permits. And so you run the chance of being cited with negligent burning, criminal mischief, and potentially arson, depending on what could happen should these fires within our backyards or in wild spaces escape.
Matsuki Hirayama, KUAM News.
A convicted rapist is granted his request to get out of prison. Dwayne Peters was freed from the Department of Corrections last week following an order signed by Superior Court Judge Arthur Barcenas. Peters wanted to get out of prison pending the Supreme Court of Guam's decision on his appeal. Judge Barcenas' order placed Peters under house arrest and electronic monitoring. He is only allowed to leave his residence for medical-related issues and must get approval by adult probation services. Peters is ordered to have no contact with anyone who testified during his trial, to include the victim.
As KUAM reported, Peters, who was convicted of multiple counts of first and second degree criminal sexual conduct, got 30 years for raping a girl who was living with him. He requested for release last September pending the outcome of his appeal. Defense at the time stated this was the military veteran's only conviction, adding there is no risk Peters would fail to show up to his court hearings. Peters' request also came the same time the Attorney General used him as an example on a public billboard that stated, quote, pedophiles deserve prison. Peters now waits from home for the High Court to decide if he will go back to prison or get a new trial. A Saipan public school teacher resigned from his job amid allegations of inappropriate conduct with a student.
But as regional correspondent Tomas Manglotny reports, it's unclear what happens next.
The Marianas High School teacher accused of inappropriate conduct with a student has resigned. The NMI public school system made the announcement Wednesday morning. They wrote, in the spirit of transparency and community engagement, the CNMI public school system announces the resignation of a former Marianas High School teacher effective Friday, January 12, 2024. The teacher resigned just a day after KUAM News reported on the allegations. The school system has not named the staff or provided details on the conduct. The incident was reported to authorities this month. The CNMI Department of Public Safety has not responded to KUAM's request for comment on whether a complaint was filed related to the incident. Meanwhile, PSS said in a statement, "We understand this is a challenging time for all. However, rest assured PSS and MHS are committed to providing a safe, supportive, and high-quality educational experience for all students." Commissioner of Education Dr. Lawrence Camacho added, "Our priority remains the well-being and education of our students, and we will work diligently to ensure a smooth transition for everyone involved." But there are still more questions than answers. We asked PSS if the investigation was still active amid the resignation. KUAM asked what actions are being taken now to address the matter with the impacted students. We also asked if the name of the teacher and details of the alleged conduct will be released. As of press time, KUAM News is waiting for their comment. Tomas Manglotny, KUAM News, Saipan.
A pair who admitted to smuggling 4 pounds of meth into Guam is each facing about 10 years in federal prison. Federal prosecutors recommended Francisco Herrera Salas serve 111 months after he admitted to charges of attempted possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine hydrochloride. Prosecutors recommend 21 months for co-defendant Joseph Mesa Babauta. The duo are scheduled to be sentenced on January 25th in the District Court of Guam.
As KUAM reported, postal inspectors intercepted packages sent from Utah to 3 separate addresses on Guam when they found the drugs in December of 2020. Guam Customs and DEA agents saw Salas pick up the package from the Tamuning post office, following him to hug it before taking him into custody. It's also recommended both serve 4 years supervised release. Another of the heavily criticized issues about GMH that was raised during Tuesday's wide-ranging oversight hearing was the prevalence of mold. The hospital has hired an industrial hygienist to conduct sampling and help lay out of the mitigation plan. Senator Chris Barnett questioned GMH officials about a report on the mold. The hospital continues with withholding its call to a draft that's still pending review by its Board of Trustees, GMH Assistant Administrator William Kando.
The testing by the firm, is quite sufficient and indicated in the report. We
don't know what's indicated in the report because we haven't seen it.
Yeah. In the meantime, while we're waiting to share it with, the opportunity to share it with the board, we're not waiting to act on the recommendations. We're actually proceeding. We've been replacing the ceiling tiles. If there's any visible mold,
I get that, Mr. Kando. I'm just saying that when I look at what you have here on page 20 of your report, and it says up here mold spore testing, and then this is all these are the mitigations you're going to have to undergo. So I'm just asking, is there any information that we can give the people of Guam, and more importantly, the patients at the Guam Memorial Hospital, about the type of mold and the potential health impacts? Because
the firm that we hired did all that. And we're acting on that report, and we're going to have an opportunity this month to share it with our BOT subcommittee on facilities, CIP-IT, and then the full board will see it, and then we'll inform the staff and the public. It's not a problem, but we're already leaning out. We're actually implementing the recommendations in the report that's been furnished to us.
GMH Administrator Lillian Posada says they are taking the mold situation seriously. And knock on wood, so far there hasn't been any hospital-wide fungal infections detected. She says they intend to take new samples before any full-blown mitigation efforts are launched. Well, GPA will be proposing a substantial new employee pay increase plan next month, as a study shows the workforce has fallen even further behind their mainland counterparts.
And management adds that the higher pay is even more critical, as fierce competition is making it harder and harder to recruit and retain key workers. Nestor Lecanto reports.
The latest survey by a GPA consultant that compares workforce salaries to a national market survey found that the local pay has actually regressed further. What was thought would bring them to the 25th percentile of comparable nationwide salaries is actually around the 5th percentile. GPA's ultimate goal is to get pay to the 50th percentile, or the middle of the pack nationally, but their intermediate next move, says General Manager John Benavente, is to raise salaries to the 30th percentile.
We're slowly progressing up there, but we're always getting behind the 8 ball, if you will, right? So that's what's going to be brought up with the CCU. We're looking again to try and keep it within our rates and not provide for a rate increase to accomplish this. But we have to be competitive, Nestor, because 50 to 60% of the GPA workforce is eligible for retirement, as I have said, for the past 5 years.
With that, GPA has kept a keen focus on building its bench and not losing key workers who has spent substantial time and money to train.
I'm already feeling the brunt of losing key employees to the federal government, because they have, if you look at that today, they're getting all kinds of benefits, including going to the PX, to the commissary, things that I cannot get.
Benavente says current payroll accounts for about $50 million of GPA's annual $500 million budget, and the proposed pay increases will amount to about $5 million.
If you look at our labor force, Nestor, look at how many our count is. We used to be as high as 700 employees in GPA. In 2015, when I took over, we had 512. You know how many employees we have today? 420. Yes, I hope we achieve this, and again, assure the public we're not looking to increase the rates. We just have to work smarter and, of course, compensate our employees.
The new wage increase plan will be presented to the Consolidated Commission on Utilities at a meeting next month. Nestor Lecanto, KUAM News.
Nearly half of employers inspected still non-compliant with Fair Chances Hiring Practice Act. That's according to the Guam Department of Labor. The law requires employers with 15 or more employees to follow strict rules regarding the use of arrest and conviction records in their hiring and employment decisions.
It also requires employers to post signage about the act at the workplace. Guam DOL reports based on data collected from the last 5 years of the 142 employers who were inspected, approximately 47% were found to be non-compliant. A majority were cited for failing to display signage at their workplace. Others failed to comply with advertising requirements, and a smaller percentage continue to seek police and court clearances during the application process. Now, citations were issued related to documentation, procedures, and withdrawal of conditional job offers. To view more on the penalties, visit dol.guam.gov. An illegal dump near a popular tourist spot is cleaned up, and the culprit is caught after apparently leaving her personal information at the scene. Park police cited a woman for littering along the entrance of Two Lovers Point after authorities sifted through the trash she left behind and found documents with her name and address.
The woman, who was not identified, allegedly admitted to throwing trash because the dump was closed. The governor's office today did release these photos, highlighting Department of Public Works maintenance crews for cleaning up the illegal dump site. The public is reminded that anyone caught dumping illegally could face fines of up to $1,000 per day per violation, along with cleanup costs.
The window to take action is quickly closing for the Guam Department of Education's Head Start program to fix its deficiencies or risk losing federal funding. This as the March 5th deadline to come into compliance looms. Region 9 Head Start directing GDOE's Head Start program to address safety and security issues, including the critical need for fencing. And while the program's existence hangs in the balance, Guam DOE Superintendent Dr. Kenneth Swanson tells KUAM that the department is on track to meet the deadline.
We are on track. Barring any unforeseen calamities, we'll stay on track. I should know today who is going to be considered to be the bid winner for putting in the fenced playground areas. And that's all that whole request for proposal has been out. It was the opening bids yesterday. We're supposed to, but I haven't seen the results yet.
With little to no wiggle room, GDOE's Head Start program now has 48 days to meet the time frame. We've heard the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, students at a local elementary school are picking up those lessons, as well as how to get creative with art.
The youngsters at CL Taitano Elementary in Sinahanya putting on a showcase for the school and for parents today, each one sharing a unique story about what art means to them.
Across the cafeteria and down the hallways, a boardwalk art show at CL Taitano Elementary School in Sinahanya. The show serving as a portal into a creative world filled with vibrant colors, textures, and shapes. Parts of the campus today transformed into a gallery with more than 500 pieces of student artwork put out on display, guiding observers into a deeper imagination of the young mind.
I've been drawing art ever since I was 4, but I always told my mom and dad, I don't like my art.
From self-portraits to collages and experimenting with different mediums, it's clear the home of the Deerlings are discovering their artistic selves.
But one day when I went to art, Ms. Gaio inspired me, my art teacher. She's over there. She inspired me to draw.
Among them, 4th grader Joseph Hansen.
It makes me feel like being myself, was it Da Vinci? I don't know that. I forgot the guy's name, but it made me feel like that guy.
He shows us his creation.
I tried my best to draw. I tried everything that Ms. Gaio said she loves it. Or no, this is the wrong one. I meant this one.
And for 5th grader Miley Manabusan,
I made this flower because of mom, and my grandma loves this flower.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. So what was her reaction when she saw this? Was she able to see your artwork? Yeah, did she like it? She's finding that art is a peaceful outlet she can turn to.
It makes me relax and happy.
And for fellow 5th graders Jesse Artero and Shaywan On, creating is simply a great time.
It feels fun.
The joy and encouragement for students to express themselves emotionally through their artistic interpretation is evident in their works, some using their experiences during Typhoon Mawar as inspiration for their masterpieces.
It's a healthy way of processing diverse feelings that Guam Department of Education Superintendent Dr. Kenneth Swanson supports.
When we use the arts to deal with sometimes topics that are very difficult to have in a conversation, social topics, then I noticed the work that our kids did here with their response to Typhoon Mawar. If you look closely, you can see an awful lot of emotion and the fear they felt during that time. And then also, in some of them, the expression of joy about, hey, the sun came out, it's all good. But at the same time, my favorite tree is down in the front yard. So how do I feel about that? And one of the things I was telling students is this is one of the most constructive ways that we can express ourselves.
It's why he says he's championing the idea for the expansion of the arts within GDOE. Still, that desire must be met with financial support to actualize.
Well, the idea is in the context of the whole overall budget process. We can more readily staff core content. Sometimes it takes helping people understand or have a little mind shift that the arts are also part of the core. And so we're seeing that more and more. We're at the front end of the budget process for the coming fiscal year, and I know we're going to have some conversations around that. I don't want to tip my hand at this point, but it's like there's always the challenge to balance what we want against what we can afford, and we have to go through that process.
And while he adds that GDOE is doing the math on everything it wants to do, that data will have to go before the Guam Education Board later this month and then before the legislature. Still, art is more than just the drawings and paintings for this bunch. As fourth grader Joseph puts it,
this is a really good day because everyone's looking at mine.
Yeah, and does that make you feel happy?
Yes.
Well, time for a quick break, but keep it here.
You're watching KUAM, your leader in local news.
A space that fits your diverse lifestyles. Simple, yet sensuous. It is a perfect form, a streamlined silhouette. Awaken your world. Electrified Streamliner, Ionic 6.
Mickey D's McCrispy. Formerly known as the Crispy Chicken Sandwich, now has some respect on his name. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Real talk. The Spicy Crispy Chicken Sandwich should have been named Spicy McCrispy from jump. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Zoom, zoom! 'Tis the season for speed, and Docomo Pacific is putting prepaid customers in the fast lane. Starting November 3rd, 2023 to January 31st, 2024, every $5 prepaid card purchase from a participating store gives Docomo Pacific customers a chance to win a brand new Mazda 3. So load up at participating stores and drop off your entry to any Docomo Pacific retail store. Docomo Pacific, better together. Some conditions apply. Visit DocomoPacific.com for details.
Guam is truly a majestic place with its sheer natural beauty, wealth of beaches, and culturally rich landscape. Unfortunately, Guam has a real problem with unwanted invasive species. Help us in preventing their introduction and spread. The coconut rhinoceros beetle, the little fire ant, the African snail, Siam weed. These are just a few of the numerous invasives on Guam. Follow proper custom procedures when bringing plants and animals into Guam.
Help protect Guam. Tell your family and friends about invasive species.
To report invasive species, call 475-PEST.
With the Iowa caucus now in the rearview mirror, presidential hopefuls have their sights set on the New Hampshire primary next week. Former President Donald Trump looking to capitalize on his massive victory.
While Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley are trying their best to stop Trump from securing the GOP nomination. Bree Jackson is in Washington.
Fresh off his historic landslide win in Iowa, former President Trump once again turning from the campaign trail to the courtroom.
This is the only person this ever happened before, but I go to a lot of courthouses.
During jury selection in his civil damages trial, 2 potential jurors in New York indicated they believe Trump is being treated unfairly by the court system.
he is playing the victim card. But in the case that we are watching today, that is starting today, a jury has determined that it's E. Jean Carroll who is the victim here.
Despite fighting multiple cases, including 91 felony charges, Trump appears on path for a rematch with President Biden in the general election.
The moment Trump was indicted, he started to consolidate the base.
Next up, the New Hampshire primary. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis claiming to have momentum despite finishing a distant second in the first in the nation caucus.
Amongst the broader Republican electorate, I was viewed very favorably. I mean, like what we did in Iowa, we did make an impression on a lot of those folks.
Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley placed third in Iowa, yet contends this is a two-person race. She hopes appealing to independent and moderate voters helps her win next week.
New Hampshire has a way of turning conventional wisdom and turning what happened in Iowa on its head.
The once crowded race for the Republican presidential nomination narrowing even more today. Asa Hutchinson ended his long shot campaign. In the New Hampshire primary next week, Republicans and Democrats will have a long list of candidates to choose from. There will be 24 names on the Republican ballot. Notably, President Biden's name will not be on the Democratic ballot after he opted to skip the contest after the Democratic National Committee overhauled the primary calendar to put South Carolina first instead. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
CNMI Governor Arnold Palacios says he shares the economic frustrations voiced by the Rota Chamber of Commerce in a recent KUAM news report. And Rota Mayor Aubrey Hokog also agrees that more needs to be done to ease the burden of doing business, particularly when it comes to shipping.
Regional correspondent Tomas Menglonia sits down with both leaders for their response in this next report.
NMI Governor Arnold Palacios and Rota Mayor Aubrey Hokog responding to the Rota Chamber of Commerce's concerns about the cost of doing business. In an interview with KUAM last week on Rota, the chamber voiced their frustrations over the cost and lack of shipping.
I watched the interview with some of our members of our Rota Chamber of Commerce, and I totally agree that something has to be done. And you know, I totally agree with everybody except Juan Ponce. My friend Juan Ponce, they thought that we were sleeping on the wheel. We haven't. Let me just put things in perspective and in proper context. This administration has never really had the opportunity to get in there because we just now constituted a new leadership under this administration at CPA. So we're looking at that.
The governor is now working to address those issues, which he says aren't new. Rota Mayor Aubrey Hokog shares those concerns. She spoke to KUAM News in a separate interview.
It's very expensive. Many of our people tell us, even through posts on social media, how the cost of one item is compared to others, and it's very, very difficult to afford to live here in Rota.
Palacios is traveling to Rota this week and plans to meet with local leaders, including the chamber. Meanwhile, he says there are things that can be done now to ease the burden.
In discussing that with the new CPA chair, I think those are obstacles that we could address immediately. One of them is to buy, equipments to make it a lot easier to offload goods, whether through a large conveyor belt or through a small boom truck kind of a thing to just lift those things out and make it easier for our merchants.
Rota Mayor Aubrey Hokog says there's more to learn.
We need to do an assessment. Many people have shared with me that it is cheaper to send items from Korea to Saipan, but it's more costly to send items from Saipan to Rota. And in fact, there's something we need to look at because many of the commodities we have come from small chartered boats, and the costs are still the same. They don't offload through RT&T, they offload through the West Harbor Marina, yet the price of commodities still remains. So we need to really take a look and assessment or, go have an assessment done as to really what is the trigger.
Governor Palacios also shares the Rota Chamber's concern over long wait times for licenses and permits. He supports a one-stop shop business license and permitting center.
But a small community like Rota, to have a small company, we need to have a lot more responsive agencies to take a look at that, and I don't see why it has to be. It all has to come to Saipan before those permits are issued.
Palacios says the infrastructure of all CNMI ports came up in his high-level talks in D.C. last week. He admits that it's about implementation, not just legislation. Hulk and Palacios say they'll continue to listen to the community's concerns.
And so our delegation, we really need to sit down and address how can we limit or how can we reduce, the touch of the commodities from one facet to another, to see how we can help them save money, because ultimately when we make them save money, our consumers will save money.
Tomas Maglonia, KUAM News, Rota.
Tomas's full interview with Governor Palacios can be viewed on our YouTube channel. A second attempt to make transiting through the Aloha State from Guam easier. One of Guam's senators writing to United Airlines head officials about TSA's additional baggage recheck point in hopes to help Guam's travelers. Senator Jesse Lujan wrote to United Airlines Guam Managing Director Sam Shinohara and the United Airlines Global Managing Director Dan Weiss Monday to try and take advantage of the Transportation Security Administration additional baggage recheck point. Passengers who arrive to the Honolulu International Airport must currently get their baggage at the carousel before having to walk through Customs and Border Patrol, then take their luggage to the second floor to get their bags checked back in for the next leg of their flight. Passengers are then required to go through the to enter TSA process before heading to their gate. Lujan believes by doing this, it will tremendously reduce the burden that passengers transiting from Guam have to go through.
That's what happens when you only have one provider flying this route, right? And so I'm hoping, again, this is not a ding on United. This is how can we work this out for the Guam traveler, for the Guam a traveler, and it's not just the Guam travelers, the people that come through Guam, the transit through Guam to go to destinations beyond Honolulu, right? And this is just it's cruel. It's cruel, and almost on a daily basis, I'll get either a phone call, I'll get a FaceTime call, WhatsApp call from Manamku's families with little children, and what is happening. This is live. Look at what we have to go through here in Honolulu. And again, once you pick up your bags and recheck it, and then you have to go through the other end of the terminal to be able to catch your next flight. I mean, you've been through that flight, you've been through that route, and again, it's a burden on us. Imagine the Manamkus and people who are ill, and young families with young kids. So I'm hoping, again, to come up with some kind of resolve, because, again, as they had told us, CBP says, look, it's there. They can use it. Now, there may become some complexities, but can we work this out and, quit having this situation, again, for the people of Guam, the Guam traveler. I mean, we pay premium price and almost an 8-hour flight, and this is what we get when we get to that destination. It's cruel.
Similar efforts were announced this week by Guam Delegate James Moylan. Lujan says he also emailed Acting Deputy Commissioner for U.S. Customs and Border Protection Pete Flores and other officials who participated in the meeting to reiterate his support for the new TSA baggage recheck area as a solution. Last month, he was one of several of Guam's leaders who met with U.S. CBP officials visiting Guam, asking about what procedures or if policies could be changed to end the long walk passengers transiting from Guam have to endure. As KUAM reported, Lujan reached out to federal and local officials seeking relief for Guam passengers last year, although he was able to get the Honolulu transit process streamlined, making it much easier for passengers to travel. It was short-lived. A local attorney has made history, being the first Chamorro woman and LGBTQ+ representative to be the new federal public defender for Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands.
KUAM's Jillian Hernandez sits down with attorney Leilani Lujan to talk about her journey that now opens the door for others to follow in her footsteps.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Well, it's quite an honor to be the first. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with being the first to represent not just, our people here in our region, but also to be a representative in the nation of our region.
And, do you feel like there's an enormous amount of pressure being the first, especially in law, representing, our people, our island?
Of course there is, but I can handle it.
All right. And then, so off camera, we were talking about how you come from a family of lawyers, right? And it started off with your grandpa. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And is that what inspired you to even get into a career in law in the first place?
So my family of lawyers starts with my grandfather, the Honorable Francisco Guerrero Lujan. He was a judge here on Guam. And my uncles, Frank Lujan and David Lujan, followed in his footsteps. Lujan is the daughter of Frank Lujan and became a Supreme Court Justice of Guam. And I am, I grandfather and my uncle. But if you want to know the story about how it is that I became an attorney, when I was 6 years old, we visited my grandfather's home, and I was put into a chair, and this huge book was placed onto my lap, and I immediately fell in love with the book. It was later that I found out it was a law book, and I decided that I wanted to be a lawyer at 6 years old. So it was that experience that sparked my desire to be a lawyer.
And I have to ask, given that you are now, again, the first a woman federal public defender for not just the District of Guam, but also for the Northern Marianas, did you ever, dreamed that it would come to this moment? Even that little 6-year-old girl being like, I'm going to be a lawyer, to going further into this career?
Never. I never dreamed I would be in this position. In August of 2023, the Ninth Circuit approved the expansion of our office from the District of Guam to include the District of the Northern Mariana Islands. In terms of the process of applying for the federal public defender position, I had to submit an application to the Ninth Circuit. So the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals selected me among the candidates to head the District of Guam and the District of the Northern Mariana Islands.
I know we mentioned that you never thought about, going this far into you, but what made you decide to turn in that application? Like, you know what, I'm going to go for it. Go for this. What made you decide to do that?
At that point in time when my boss, John Gorman, put in for his retirement, I was already 10 years on the job, and I believed that I had all the skills, all the experience to lead our office into the next iteration.
Was there an aha moment, you know what, this is it, this is a sign, I have to do this?
Yes, of course, there was. As soon as I found out that Mr. Gorman intended to retire, I felt that it was my opportunity to be able to lead our office.
What do you hope will come out of you now being in your position right now? Because I know you said you wanted to be a lawyer to really, truly help people. What are some of the cases that that are really passionate with your heart, that you truly put your heart and soul into?
Well, let me, answer that in two ways. First, in terms of the future of our office, I plan on expanding our services to better assist clients, not just from our traditional role of advocating for clients in the courtroom, but also exploring pilot projects that are aimed at rehabilitation to assist clients at all stages of their cases, whether they are at the pretrial, pre-sentencing, or post-sentencing stages. Expanding into the Northern Marianas certainly is a very prestigious goal to accomplish, and it's my hope that we will be able to open a branch office in the District of the Northern Marianas this year. And then also explore community outreach and try to bring federal resources to our region for more training opportunities for our local attorneys, because as you know, traveling to the mainland is very expensive. the second half of the answer is being the first means I'm not the last. And so I hope that my tenure as a federal public defender will inspire others to not just become lawyers, but to become public servants. I come from, as you said, as you notice, a very long history of attorneys. But I also come from a long history of public servants. My parents worked for the government of Guam. My siblings work for the government of Guam. And I have worked not just for the federal government, but also for the state of Hawaii when I worked in Hawaii. And so public service to me is very important, and in my opinion, there is no nobler profession than public service.
I do have to ask, I know that there are certain topics that if you could, clarify with me that you guys can touch bases with, like the abortion laws here on island to even the, other topics. How ready and how motivated do you feel taking on those types of, issues, especially law-abiding issues?
Well, we don't handle those matters, so I won't comment on that.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I do have to ask, what message do you have for the community, especially for young women, especially those of Chamorro descent, in taking on something like this?
Well, not only am I the first Chamorro in the nation to be appointed as a federal public defender, I am the second in the nation who is openly LGBTQ+. And so my message to all is never give up on your dream. I had a dream to be a lawyer at 6 years old, and I followed that dream. And if I can do it, a person who, is LGBTQ, a woman of color from the south of Guam, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Now, to a personal question, to that 6-year-old little Leilani, who fell in love with that law book. If you could talk to her right now, what would you say to her?
I would say to her, stick with it because it's a fantastic journey.
And is there anything else you would like to add?
Viva Marianas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been 30 years since Sisters Jacinta Mai and Yasmin Regis have been back on Guam. The trip, while an emotional one, has inspired them.
Jonah Ginchar chats with the Florida residents about their Tahitian dance troupe and how the trip to Guam has prompted them to include cultural dance into their performances.
It has been 30 years since Jacinta Sinicolas Ma'ai and Yasmin Sinicolas Regis have been on island. The daughters of Jacinta and Martin Sinicolas, formerly of Asan, said the trip has been soul-stirring.
It's been amazing. We have so many connections here, our families here, of course, and when we were young, we didn't really appreciate just all the beauty Guam had to offer. So our family took us around and showed us our roots, showed us our land, our family's land, and it's just been the most amazing experience. It's really inspired us to continue to preserve our culture and to continue to perpetuate it.
For Jacinta, the long overdue visit has served as a cultural immersion for them.
We've done more than we have ever imagined that we would do already. And to see it all as an adult, because when I came I was a kid, I've always celebrated liberation, but just being there, we went on the Asan hilltop, just reading all Guam's history and everything that, it just means a lot for us.
Just to know that we are deeply rooted here, and after 30 years, it still feels like home. And we just couldn't be more thankful for our culture and our island and our family.
We're so proud to be Chamorro, and this has really ignited something in us that we didn't know if this is the trip we needed.
The two, who currently reside in Florida, are the director and manager, respectively, of a Tahitian dance group there called Piti Mahana.
We dance all kinds of Polynesian and South Pacific Island dances, we had really a lot of accessibility to like Oritsitsu is what we call it. So we didn't really have many resources for Chamorro dancing. We would do it for liberation or things like that. Mesh Chamorro. We do have a big community in San Antonio where we originally had the group in San Antonio for like 10 years, over 10 years.
And Hiti Mahana is a family affair.
All of our family is involved. Her husband, my husband, my husband's Chamorro as well. And our kids dance, our kids compete. We have other families. It's a whole family. We really feel like we are a family, and that's something that we can continue to, give to our community and give to our children and their children, So I think that's the most important thing that we've established by doing what we do is just doing it together as a family.
The trip allowing the sisters to connect with family members who just happen to be a part of local cultural dance groups.
Talk to them and I'm like, hey, give me some, dances. Let me know what I can learn from you, and so that I can bring it back to, and we can tie it into what we do and not only is it's important for us to just keep those traditions going. We're a family aspect, like we said, like it's a family thing. So teaching her kids and everybody, all of our students about where we came from, where we come from.
So what do they take away from this life-changing trip?
We just want to continue to keep the culture alive, keep our, and just really instill it into our family, into our kids. And
this has made me, I've always been proud to be Chamorro, but just coming back, I needed this.
The sisters hoping to bring back their families so they can truly understand.
I want to show my kids their roots. Where we're from, and that they have roots here too, and that this is their family and this is their home.
To follow the sisters and their creative journey, find them on Instagram at _Hiti Mahana. Jonagan Charfris, KM News.
There's an exciting change coming to late night at CBS. After Midnight is sliding into the slot formerly held by The Late Show with James Corden.
We introduce you to the show's host, Taylor Tomlinson, who gives us a behind-the-scenes look at After Midnight, which airs tonight at 12:30 a.m. on CBS TV 11.
There's a new face on late night television.
Welcome, the newest late night host, Taylor Tomlinson.
Comedian Taylor Tomlinson is hosting CBS's After Midnight. We visited her on the newly built set.
Yeah, I feel like Taylor Swift during the Eras tour. It's very high tech here. I was blown away when I saw it.
The show is inspired by Comedy Central's series At Midnight. Comedians and some of the biggest names in the entertainment world will appear as guest panelists, tackling the buzz in Hollywood and beyond.
It's all just based on what's popular on the internet, right? So whatever's big on TikTok that week, there's going to be a game around that.
A podium instead of a couch, no band or interviews. After Midnight isn't your traditional late night talk show.
It's not a sit-down late night show. I mean, it's a fake game show where the whole point is for people to make jokes and be funny. So, I mean, I think it's going to be really fast. It's going to be silly. I'm going to be standing the entire time in heels.
Ooh.
You're welcome, America.
Right, and thank you.
After Midnight is airing in James Corden's former Late Late Show spot. Tomlinson will be one of few women to occupy that time slot.
Feel any pressure for that?
I mean, I feel pressure as a person. I don't think it has anything to do with me being a woman. I feel a lot of pressure to be good at this just in general. I think it is a dream job that I get to do.
And Tomlinson is excited to shake up the late night landscape. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And After Midnight premieres tonight following The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Colbert, by the way, is one of the executive producers of the show. All right, now for a look at your world at home. Here's a view captured over Emerald Valley in PD.
This view plus much more music streaming on Isla Digital Radio.
Honey, do you want some milk?
Do you ever wonder how your favorite products make their way into your local stores? Most arrive on state-of-the-art Matson vessels that transport containers of food, household items, equipment, and supplies into the islands every week. Because we know that you depend on us, we work closely with our partners to ensure that our shipments arrive on time, all the time, so you can find your favorite products when you need them. We transport the region's most precious cargo that supports successful businesses and promotes a better quality of life for our families. Matson is proud to have been the hometown shipping carrier for Guam, the CNMI, and Micronesia for the past 25 years, and you can count on us to be here for generations to come.
Taco Bell is so good and so cheap.
I know, right? I wonder why.
What if they know we're broke? What if they're trying to be the good guys?
Ah, thanks, Taco Bell!
Don't need a work break, keep the smile on your face. The moments you can't replace, and I'll be around. Whoa. You can count on me. You can count on me for life.
Wherever life takes you, we're always here for you. Calvo's Insurance. Count on us for life.
Happy new phone! Start the new year off right with a brand new phone from GTA. For a limited time, trade in your old phone and get an extra $300 off your new phone with any unlimited plan. Say goodbye to that cracked screen and say hello to the latest 5G phones. We accept over 100 types, any condition, even lock. Get more with GTA. More 5G coverage, more unlimited plans, more savings. Visit gta.net for more info. GTA. We start with you.
Tonight is now chicken night?
Oh, yes, it's chicken night. Kentucky Fried Chicken night. Oh, yes, it's chicken night. Oh, what a night. Oh, what a night.
Make it a chicken night with KFC's $25 fill-up box.
It's looking good.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist. Over 20 years of experience.
A space that fits your diverse lifestyles. Simple, yet sensuous. It is a perfect form, a streamlined silhouette. Awaken your world. Electrified Streamliner, Ioniq 6.
For the first time in 30 years, Coors Light has an ad in the big game.
Actually, this is a Miller Lite commercial.
Mountain Cold Refreshment. It's Miller time. Great taste. Less filling. Cold as the Rockies. Coors commercial. Miller commercial.
Actually, it's a Blue Moon commercial.
Zoom Zoom! 'Tis the season for speed, and Docomo Pacific is putting prepaid customers in the fast lane. Starting November 3rd, 2023 to January 31st, 2024, every $5 prepaid card purchase from a participating store gives Docomo Pacific customers a chance to win a brand new Mazda 3. So load up at participating stores and drop off your entry to any Docomo Pacific retail store. Docomo Pacific, better together. Some conditions apply. Visit DocomoPacific.com for details.
What's better than a cheesy bite? Cheese in every bite. That's why we invented stuffed crust pizza, topped and stuffed with almost a pound of cheese. There's only one original, the original stuffed crust pizza from Pizza Hut. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
Guam is beautiful. We all know this, and we have to keep Guam that way because she is mother to us all. We have to take care of our beautiful island. And Tanotasi Jantoru will holding a community cleanup and native tree planting on Saturday from 8 to 10. You need to meet at the entrance of Sus El Bamba Road in Mingilao, and please bring a drinking container. And thank you for taking care of our island paradise. The Guam Weddings Bridal Show is happening very, very soon, and that is going to be on February 4th at the Ocean Serena Ballroom at the Royal Riga Laguna Guam Resort. You will find out anything if you are to tie the knot and do it the right way and make it a wonderful, wonderful event. So please make sure to check it out. And if you're in Saipan at American Memorial Park, they're seeking an intern between the ages of 18 to 30 up to 35 for vets to support and lead community outreach programs. Please make sure to get in contact if you would like to help support your community, because that is what we do right here on News Bites. We tell you how you can get involved.
It's birthday wishes time.
Here's your Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club shoutouts submitted on KUAM.com.
Okay, everybody, on Wednesday, we all say, all of us together, from Jigo all the way down to Humatek. Here we go. Happy birthday, number 12, to Maya Augustine. Happy birthday, Maya. We love you so very, very much with all the love in the world from Mom, Dad, Tony, Grandma, Grandpa, Auntie Alyssa, and Auntie Alana. Maya, we hope you have a fantastic 12th birthday. And a belated birthday wish going out to Frank Florig, whose birthday shout-out says, Biba Biba cumpleaños, Frank. God's blessings and all the love in the world from your family and friends. So Maya and Frank, we hope that you both have beautiful days on this Wednesday and beautiful birthdays.
And that's your Primetime Show. Thanks for watching. I'm Nick Delgado.
And I'm Destiny Cruz. Have a great evening and stay beautiful.